All right, now that you have kind of a basic understanding of the different modules of the Nord, we need to take a look at how to kind of customize your patches and save them into your live mode. Now, the first thing that I do when I get to a campus is I turn on the Nord, and then I immediately jump in and make sure the live mode is turned on. And so again, we're going to come to the center spot on our keyboard here, and this is kind of our main menu area. And this gray button where it says live mode, you want to make sure that that is lit. So you tap it and it turns it on, and as you can see, things kind of change. If I tap it again, it changes. Tap it again, it's on. Now, the way this works is in your live mode, you basically have a program bank of 5 places where you can save your sounds. You have a slot A and a slot B if you want to change over, but usually I never have to do that. I just stay right in slot A and I go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe sometimes 5. There are a lot of Sundays where I don't have to save anything but slot 1 or program 1 because we're using basically the same sounds through all of the tunes. But if you do need to customize your sounds, change the delays, change over to an EP, or change your synth patch if for some reason you needed to do that, you could program each one of those to a new program number. And so to start off with right now, I've just got an acoustic piano dialed up. As you can see, that's nice and dry, nothing too special about it. And so the first thing that I'm going to do with that is I'm going to add a little bit of reverb. So we'll come over here, we'll turn reverb on, we'll turn this up to about 5, and we'll play it. That sounds pretty good right now. We'll add a little bit of compression, we'll turn it on, bring it down to about 4. If we turn it up a little bit, you can see when it starts being active because this little light starts lighting up. You can see it starts engaging pretty quick. So we'll leave it about 5. All right, now that sounds pretty good for the acoustic piano, and what you can do if you want to is as you create this, you can, as you're starting to go along, you may want to go ahead and start saving as you're creating this, so in case you were to lose power, you don't have to start completely over. So now I've customized that sound. Remember when we first started off, it was completely dry, nothing special about it. Now we've got some reverb attached to it, as well as the compressor. And the other thing that I'll probably do is go ahead and tap in the tempo of the first song. And so right now, let's just say we start tapping it in, and we're at 128, as you can see here. So now the master clock is set to 128, although you're not hearing anything with it. You're going to hear it if we turn on the delay, and we're not going to worry about that just yet. And so we've got the piano, as well as the compressor, reverb, and the master clock is set to 128. So the first thing we want to do is save this to our program. And so as you can see right now, live mode is on, and number 1 is selected right here. And you can see it says live 1 is on, and all we have to do is tap this red store button, tap it once, and it says store to live 1, and then tap it again, and it's stored. So now if we were to turn live mode off, that's kind of the sound for the preset, but if we turn live mode back on, now right there is something that you need to be aware of that I wasn't even aware of there. I had the transpose button turned on, and on a keyboard, the transpose button is probably the worst button ever invented for the keyboard because that can just be very dangerous. And so as you saw, I saved the transpose on. So if I were to start playing, I'm playing in D, but it's not sounding in D. And so what I want to do is resave now to make sure that's turned off. So as you can see here, it's not lit. There it is. And as you can see, the transpose amount is up 1 semitone. We don't want that. When we turn it off, come up, it's still selected to 1. We tap store, tap it again, and now it's saved. And we should be in the right key. Good job. Okay, so now we've got the piano. The next thing I'm going to set is the synth, and we're going to start from just a basic, just initialized patch, just a blank patch. And so if we come here and turn it on, I'm going to turn off the piano for now. And as you can see, I'm going to turn off all this, nice and dry. And remember, what we need to do is we need to move it over to sample. So I'm going to tap this button until it moves to sample, and I want it to be on 200. So we'll come to 200 and play. As you can see, it has a very short release. When I let go, it's there. So what I want to do is I'm going to play, turn the release up to about 5. You want to make sure that your decay is turned all the way to 10, because if you got it at 0, it doesn't do anything. And then the attack, if you have it set at 0, I usually bring it about 3 just to give it a slight little fade or taper it in. All right, so that's nice and bright. The next thing we need to do is we need to program our mod wheel. As you can see, I move my mod wheel and the frequency doesn't move. And so we want that to be able to do this. Nice and dark. And open it up. And so the way that we do this is we come over to our wheel button right here, as you can see, and we're going to double tap. And then we're going to make sure our mod wheel is down, and we're going to turn our wheel. As you can see, it creates a range. When we had it over here, it didn't have anything. No, and as you can see, it says no morph in our little screen there. We're going to turn it down, and we're going to bring it down to about there. Turn it off by tapping again. As you can see, it darkens it up. And so we want to pull this down to about here. And what it's done is it's reversed. Now if that happens, you have to do the exact same thing, and watch what happens. If we double tap, you see the range is here. We're just going to turn this knob and make it go the other way and bring it over to almost 100%. And then we'll tap the wheel button again. And now it's programmed to it. We'll adjust it just a little bit. And then we're going to move this from LP12 to LP24 by tapping once. We can open it up. And that's how we program our synth. So again, it takes a little bit of getting used to. Your first step is to make sure that you're set to sample 200, and then you want to make sure your amp envelope is set right. You know, the attack needs to be set to about 3, decay almost all the way up to 10, same thing with the release up about to 5, and that gives you that nice kind of synth pad effect. Not too much of an attack, not too much of a release. I usually set that LP filter to 24, and then you want to program that mod wheel. So again, the way to do that is if this mod wheel right here is not lit, if that button's not lit, you just tap it to make it light, and then if you need to adjust, you double tap. And so now it's set. See how it's flashing, and we can adjust this range right here. And then when we're done, we just tap it and we're set. So we can pull our mod wheel down, open it up, and now that's set. So we're going to turn on our reverb and our compressor again. We've got turn on our piano and our synth, and this should sound pretty good. So that sounds pretty good. You probably noticed there that I adjusted the attack on the amp envelope for that synth patch, because as I started changing chords, there was still a little bit of a delay on that pad, so it was fading in too slow. So I just dialed it down from 3 down to about 1.5. So now that's sounding pretty good. So what we want to do is we want to save that to our same program number 1. So again, as you can see here, it's selected, number 1. We're just going to tap the store button once and twice, and now it's saved. So we should have it. And that sounds pretty good. Now, if we wanted to add delay to it, you can do one of two things. You can basically save this to a new program number and add delay to that, or you can just add the delay to this one and have it turned off. And that's usually what I normally do. And so I'm going to turn on the delay. It's set to piano. It's set to ping pong, and it's also set to the master clock. Now remember, when we first saved, we saved it at 128, and so that's very important, because if you do want to turn it on, it's going to slave to that master clock, which is what you want. And so if we play right now, you can see the delays added in there. And so if we were to do Found in You, all we have to do is turn that on, and when we get into the verse, we just tap it off. So it would look something like this. Back on. And that's how that works. So really the easiest thing to do is just to have it set and turn it off, and when you need it, turn it back on. If you want to save it to a new program, you can do that. And there's a way to take what you have and save it, or basically copy it over to a new program number. That way you can kind of modify what you already have, rather than having to go through the same thing and program your mod wheel and your synth patch and that sort of thing. So if you want to, right now, as you can see, it's on program 1, and all we have to do is tap the store button, and then we're going to turn our knob over and see it shifts to store to live 2. We're going to tap store, and now it's stored to live 2. So this one right now has the delay on. If we go back to 1, we'll turn it off and we'll save that. So now we have it with it off. We've got it with it on. Off, on. And so what that allows you to do is you can have it on and say you want the exact same sounds, but the next tune has delay, and say 2 tunes back to back have delay, but they're different tempos. And so the first one is at 128, so we can come over to number 2 and change the tempo, and you can either do that by tapping, or you can manually do it by holding the shift button right here where it says master clock. Remember when I said if you want to do anything in the letters or the words underneath the buttons, you have to hold shift. So right here it says tempo, so we'll hold shift and tap it, and now it says master clock internal rate. Right now it's at 128. So let's say we came down and we turned it down to say 112. Now we'll just tap the tempo button again, and we'll store it by hitting store twice. So right now, if we come back to 1 and turn on the delay, we go to 2, you can see it's slowed down. We can make it even more dramatic, turn it way down. Here's the first, here's the second. So you can see that you can manually adjust the tempos, and that's helpful because in Planning Center, the tempos for the songs are already programmed in, and so that's something that I'll do whenever I first show up. I'll turn on the keyboard, I'll get kind of my basic patches set up, and then I'll look on Planning Center to see what the tempos are. I'll make sure that I check that with your lead guitar player because he's probably going to be playing with some delay, so you want to make sure that both of you are set to the same tempo, and then you can go in and manually program that, and then just save it to these program numbers. Now, the only thing to be aware of with the Nord, and this is probably going to be the downside of the Nord is that it doesn't have what we call patch holdover or sound holdover. What that means is if we're on one preset or program number and we're holding a sound and we need to change sounds for a new song, if we're holding a sound and we change, it's going to cut off the sound that you have and basically bring up the new sound, and it's not going to start, you're not going to hear it until you replay. So if we play a chord right here, when I tap it, now you can see it's not sounding anymore. So that's a little bit of a downside to the Nord. So if you're going to change songs, because the, for us as keyboard players, our job's very important in that we're helping those transitional moments. When we end a song, we're allowing that pad or that synth to still carry over until the downbeat of the new song. And so what you have to do is you just got to be really on top of your game, and you got to change right before you strike the new chord. And so just to kind of give you an idea, right now we've got this sound here. And we'll come over and we'll change to that whirly, and the tremolo effect, maybe a little bit of drive to it. We'll pull this down. And we'll save that. So, coming back to 1, we've got the same thing here. Here's 2. Two totally different sounds. So we'll go back to 1. So you've just hit a 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you can see that you kind of have to hit it right before you hit the downbeat of the new song, and sometimes, and because of that, that means you're not going to be able to play your left hand, which is okay because typically your bass player is going to be handling that. And so that's just something to be aware of as you're going from song to song if you are using multiple patch changes, and because there is no sound holdover, and that's just something that Nord's going to have to work on. So again, that kind of gives you an idea of this, kind of main program area and how to program your sounds for a Sunday morning. Again, kind of my workflow is when I walk in, I turn on the keyboard, I put it in live mode and see what's there. Sometimes, if you've played at the same campus 2 weeks in a row, you may not have to change anything unless it needs to be changed because of the songs. But I'll turn on live mode, go to number 1, I'll see what it sounds like and kind of tweak it. If the piano needs to be a little bit darker, I'll change over to that second piano. Model 2, if I need to go to an EP, I'll do that. I'll go over to the synth. I always make sure that that mod wheel is programmed and that it's moving to where it needs to be. I'll add any effects that I need to. Kick on the compression, make sure the reverb is there and it's dialed in where it needs to be. And then I'll save to program 1, and then I'll move on to program 2 if I need to for a new sound, whatever it might be. But once I do that, and make sure that you program in your master tempo for the song. Now, if you're using the same sound for every single song, you don't have to worry about that unless you're going to use delay. If you are using delay, you want to make sure it's set to the tempo. And if you're only using delay on one song, you can set it for that one song and forget it, and then turn off the delay for the rest of the songs and not have to do individual program changes. But that's kind of the workflow. Turn it on, set the sounds up, save it, and then just kind of call it a day. After that, I concentrate on Ableton and listening to the tracks. If you're MDing or anything like that, making sure that the tempos are right, making sure that tempo's moving from, say, the first song into the vamp or the same tempo. And again, that is just talking to your worship leader and making sure that you're able to do what they're kind of looking for. And so, again, this is just an overall kind of in-depth look at the Nord, specifically pertaining to the live mode. Really, when you walk up to it, it can be a little intimidating again, but if you can just think of it as it's being modular. Again, the things that you need to walk away with are the on-off buttons. If it's on, it's going to sound. If it's off, it's not going to sound. You're going to use primarily your piano, your synth. You might have some reverb and compression, but after that, that's kind of the main thing. And so when you walk in on a Sunday morning, try to take some of these things, put them into practice, and as you do, it'll become easier and easier, and you'll definitely be helping as far as what you're doing on the keyboard and helping kind of take the worship experiences to the next level. So good luck, and definitely have fun as you're doing this.